You are the smartest person in the room, and it is slowly destroying you. Not because your intelligence is wrong, because you keep using it on people it was never designed to work on. You have been in that moment. Someone speaks with absolute, unshakable confidence about something they completely misunderstand. Your brain instantly maps every flaw in their logic. You build the perfect argument, you deliver it cleanly, and they stare at you, blink once, and double down harder than before. You walk away exhausted, drained, quietly questioning your own sanity. This is not bad luck. This is a trap. And the most dangerous part is that your intelligence is the bait. Think about what just happened in that interaction. You spent real energy, cognitive energy, the same finite resource that builds companies, solves problems, and creates everything meaningful in your life. You burned it, not in a battle of equals, in a collision with a mind that was never even playing the same game as you. And here is what makes it worse. They did not drain you by outsmarting you. They drained you by simply refusing to engage with reality. You brought a scalpel to a knife fight and walked away bleeding because you forgot that a scalpel only works on a patient willing to be operated on. The fool was never willing. They were never even on the table. School built a lie inside your mind so deep you have never questioned it. The lie that intelligence wins, that evidence conquers, that if you simply present the right argument in the right way to the right person, reason will prevail. This belief feels noble. It feels like the foundation of civilization itself, and in a room full of rational minds, it might even be true. But you are not always in that room. Most of the time, you are in the other room, the room where confidence beats competence every single time. The room where the loudest voice is mistaken for the most correct one. The room where the person who never doubts themselves, even when they should, carries more social authority than the person who has spent years carefully building actual knowledge. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this clearly, and it haunted him. He wrote that the most common form of human stupidity is forgetting what one is trying to do. Intelligent people fall into this trap every single day. You walk into a conflict with the goal of establishing truth, but truth is not what the conflict is about. The conflict is about dominance, about ego, about who walks away feeling superior. And the fool understood this instinctively before the conversation even started. They were never trying to find the truth with you. They were trying to defeat you. And because you did not know that, because you showed up to a dominance battle armed with evidence instead of strategy, you lost before you opened your mouth. The question is not whether you are smarter than them. You already know the answer to that. The question is whether you are finally ready to stop fighting their war on their terms and start fighting your own.
This is the mechanism no one explains to you. The human brain was not designed for truth. It was designed for survival. 100,000 years ago, the person who paused to gather evidence before running from the rustling grass was eaten. The person who reacted instantly, emotionally, tribally, survived. That wiring has not changed. It sits underneath every conversation you have ever had. When you present a logical argument to someone operating from that ancient, survival-coded brain, you are not triggering their curiosity. You are triggering their threat response. Your correctness feels to them like an attack. Your evidence feels like an accusation. Your calm, methodical dismantling of their position is processed not as education, but as humiliation. And the brain will do anything at all to avoid the experience of humiliation. It will manufacture false memories. It will selectively ignore facts. It will double down on a position it knows is collapsing simply because retreat would feel like annihilation. Robert Cialdini spent decades studying the psychology of influence and found one law so consistent it borders on physics. People make decisions emotionally and justify them rationally afterward, every time. The fool is not refusing your logic because they cannot hear it. They are refusing it because their emotional brain made the decision before you opened your mouth, and no amount of data will override that first emotional verdict. This is not a failure of intelligence. It is a feature of human hardware. The error is yours for believing that the courtroom of logic has jurisdiction over the kingdom of feeling. It does not. It never has. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you stop bleeding energy into a machine that was never built to process what you are feeding it.
So, if logic is a weapon that cannot pierce the armor of willful ignorance, what does? Silence. Strategic, weaponized, impenetrable silence. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher who survived under Nero, one of history's most dangerously foolish rulers, wrote that silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life. He did not mean the silence of defeat. He meant the silence of the predator who understands that movement at the wrong moment costs everything. Most intelligent people have never learned the power of silence because silence feels passive. It feels like surrender. Your brain is screaming the counterargument. Your chest is tight with the injustice of an incorrect statement being allowed to stand unchallenged. But here is what silence actually communicates when deployed correctly. It communicates that you are not threatened. It communicates that the other person's reality is so far beneath you that engaging with it would be a waste of your architecture. Nothing destabilizes a fool faster than indifference. They need your reaction. They are fueled by your frustration. Your anger is the applause that keeps them performing. When you remove that applause, when you simply look at them with a calm, almost curious expression and say nothing, you pull the oxygen from the fire. They will escalate. They will repeat themselves louder, as if volume were the same as validity. Let them. A storm is loudest right before it collapses. The second weapon is the question. Not the rhetorical question designed to expose their flaw. They will sense the trap and resist it. The genuine, curious, open-ended question that invites them to extend their own argument further down its own broken road. Tell me more about that. How do you see that working in practice? What would that look like if it went wrong? You are not educating them. You are simply handing them more rope and watching them tie the knot themselves.
There is a category of person more dangerous than the ordinary fool, and that is the fool who has been rewarded. Every system, every institution, every organization on earth has them. The person who rose not through competence, but through confidence, through proximity to power, through the ancient primate game of social dominance that has nothing to do with actual capability. They have survived and thrived not because their ideas were correct, but because they were loud, consistent, and politically fluent in ways that genuinely capable people often are not. These people are uniquely dangerous because their external position has convinced them of an internal reality that does not exist. They believe their own promotion. They have taken the validation of their incompetence as proof of their genius, and now they sit above you, making decisions that make you physically sick, surrounded by people too afraid or too complicit to tell them what they actually are. Machiavelli, who understood power with cold, surgical precision, wrote that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men around him. A foolish ruler surrounds himself with flatterers because the truth is painful and flattery is comfortable. Your instinct as an intelligent person in this environment is to cut through the flattery, to speak plainly, to be the one honest voice in a room full of performance. This instinct will destroy you. The foolish ruler does not want the truth. The foolish ruler has built an entire architecture of reality that depends on the flattery being true.
The moment you contradict that architecture, you become the enemy. Not because you are wrong, but because your rightness is structurally threatening to everything they have built. You must learn a different language entirely, the language of managed perception, of strategic visibility, of choosing with surgical precision which truths to speak, when to speak them, and which truths to keep sealed behind your eyes while you smile and nod and wait.
The most lethal mistake intelligent people make when surrounded by lesser minds is the mistake of visibility. You show everything. You cannot help it. Your brain moves fast, makes connections, sees solutions, and you share them immediately because you have been trained your entire life to believe that sharing correct answers is how you prove your value. In the world of the intelligent, this is currency. In the world of the insecure and mediocre, this is a declaration of war. Sun Tzu wrote that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The corollary for the intelligent person surrounded by dangerous fools is this: the supreme art of intelligence is to influence outcomes without ever revealing the full depth of your capability. You must become a master of strategic incompleteness. You present 80% of your thinking and let them arrive at the remaining 20. You ask questions that make them feel like they discovered the answer. You frame your ideas as refinements of their ideas, building on what they said, naturally extending their logic, until they are proudly championing a solution that came entirely from you. Their ego is satisfied, their position is protected, and the outcome you needed has been achieved. You have won without fighting. You have navigated the current instead of fighting it. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire and had every reason to display his considerable intelligence, wrote in his private journals that it is a disgrace to conduct your life like a person running full speed who has forgotten what the goal was. The goal is never to be recognized as the smartest person in the room. The goal is to get the right outcome. Recognition is a luxury. Outcomes are survival. The moment you confuse the two, you become the fool.
This is the final and most important truth, the one that sits underneath everything else and holds it all together. You cannot change them. Not the willfully ignorant colleague, not the insecure superior, not the confidently wrong relative at the dinner table, not the system that rewards them. The belief that you can change them, that the right argument delivered with enough patience will finally crack open the shell of their rigidity and let reason in, that belief is not noble. It is a form of arrogance disguised as compassion. It assumes that your intelligence obligates you to repair theirs. It does not. Your intelligence obligates you to protect itself, to deploy itself where it can create real change, to refuse to be consumed by the bottomless hunger of minds that will devour your energy and give nothing back. Schopenhauer understood this with a clarity that bordered on cruelty. He wrote that we forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. The intelligent person who spends their life translating themselves for lesser minds has forfeited not 3/4, but everything. The protection of your intellectual energy is not selfishness. It is the fundamental prerequisite for doing anything meaningful with your life. Guard it with the same ferocity you would guard your physical life, because in every way that matters, it is your life. Build your walls, maintain your silence, deploy your avatar when necessary. Feed the ego of the powerful fool when required,
And in the quiet, protected space behind all of that performance, continue to think, to build, to plan, and to move. The world belongs not to the loudest voice in the room. It belongs to the patient mind that is still operating long after the loud voices have exhausted themselves. That mind is yours. Do not give it away.